Hello, everybody, and you're welcome to another exciting episode of the Coffee and Beans podcast. My name is Adesola Balogun, and on today's episode, I have the pleasure of having a very energetic and inspiring, charismatic entrepreneur, Lolade Adeyemi, to the pod. Lolade Adeyemi is the founder and CEO of It's Super. It's Super is a sauce and soup brand based in Canada, and I'm excited to have her here because this is our first interview in Nigeria. So we're just going to do a deep dive into her story, how it came about. She's going to tell us more about It's Super and the plans, how it was like for a Nigerian immigrant moving to Canada, setting up our own business, how it was like. I'm really excited. So you're welcome to the pod, Lolade.
Yeah, thank you, Shola. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. We've postponed a few times, but
yes,
the end always justifies the means. So, you've been in Nigeria now for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
How's that been?
I mean, I love being back home.
Yeah.
I feel like being in Nigeria is we're animals too, right? We're humans.
Yeah, humans. Yeah.
This is my natural habitat. Being in Africa, being home, my skin shines. I glow.
Yes, indeed.
I'm with family.
Yeah.
I'm close to home. I'm happiest here, even with all the chaos. Sorry.
No. It's everybody knows. So someone said Lagos is the kind of city where you take in small doses. Mm-hmm. So you come to Lagos, do a month, then go back to Sanity, and come back.
Yeah.
But so I wonder what that says about we that we live here on a daily. So
you're all crazy.
So how often do you come home?
Well, I haven't actually been home since 2019.
Okay. Wow.
The pandemic and everything. I traveled, but I just didn't come to Nigeria. So
okay.
So yeah, it's been a while.
So how first of all, I know that how long have you been living in Canada?
About 18 years.
Wow.
It's been a while.
So obviously you've been living in Canada before the current wave.
Way before the wave. When I was moving to Canada, everybody was like, "Where is that again? Is that close to Australia? Don't they speak French there?"
Yeah, the first time I heard of Canada, it was I heard of Canada as a French-speaking country.
Yes. So it was
what
weird
took you to Canada? School?
Well, school. Yes,
right.
I went as an international student.
Right.
And I went for school. There was always ASU strike. I dropped out of medical school.
Aww.
Don't tell nobody. So yeah, I'm a
medical
dropout.
school dropout. I mean that you should have told me that put in your she's a medical school dropout.
Oh my God. Put it on my label.
Yeah.
So don't let the past define your future.
Of course.
But yeah, I mean, we were, I don't know if you've mentioned this, but
yes,
we come a long way.
Yes. Lolly and I were classmates in
high school,
in secondary school. So which is why, I mean, I said it in previous episodes that I'm inspired by a lot of my friends who are also on this same entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah.
And I'm just so excited to bring them on the pod because I always say that if I can be inspired by their stories, then a lot more people can also be inspired. So please,
so the reason why I mentioned that was because we're both science students.
Yes.
So we were in science class, and the goal was always study medicine,
and be a doctor,
science,
be a pharmacist,
and all that.
Yeah.
My brother is an engineer. My older brother is a doctor. Jimmy. We were in school together as well. So that was the path. But I swayed from that path because for me, I wasn't the most. I realized that being in science, I would do well in school, but I wasn't the most studious person. And the amount of dedication and time it needed for me to be in medical school, I was just too ADHD, OCD, whatever, ADHD to focus that long. I wanted to do something more exciting. And I think that's what has led me to the path of actually being an entrepreneur. It's my inability to sit in one place.
Yes. I think restlessness is an ingredient for entrepreneurs. Almost every entrepreneur that I know has that thing of you know, you just can't stay in one place. You just feel the need to always want to create stuff. So tell us about your journey from, you know, coming to Nigeria, moving to Canada as an international student. Of course, finishing, you got a job. Tell us about how the journey was from finishing school, figuring out what to do, and that evolving into what we know today as the business you run. It's super.
So, moving to Canada, it was basically just almost starting my life over. So I went back to university.
Whose choice was it, if I might ask, of Canada?
So Canada, my first choice actually wasn't Canada. It was the UK.
The UK, okay.
I'd actually even started applying to schools in the UK, but my cousins lived in Canada.
Right.
They're two of my cousins, and they said, oh, Canada is more financially economical when it comes to school. It wasn't even about getting your papers, because it was just about
just getting a proper quality education.
Quality education you can afford. So that's why I went there. Plus, there was going to be people that I could live with. We could, you know, at least my settlement in a foreign country would have been easier. Exactly. So I moved to Canada mainly because of my cousins being there. And then I decided to study communications and writing. Swayed totally left.
I was just going to say that how did you go from that?
I didn't even go to business. I studied communications. And I did so well. I had an amazing rapport with my instructors. I enjoyed my time in the University of Winnipeg. Go UW. You know, I felt like I could really express myself. I wrote amazing essays. The first time I actually learned about Biafra and wars was because I was doing some research for school. Wow. They didn't teach us that in school
no,
here.
Of course not.
So, I just learned a lot. But then the reality of why our parents tell us to study medicine, engineering came to me, because I'm like, okay, I finished this course now.
So what next?
What am I going to do with this course? Which kind of job I go get? You know, as an international student, you're still trying to apply for a work permit. You're not balanced yet. So you're thinking, okay, what kind of job am I going to get? With a communications degree, am I going to work at CTV News? What am I going to do? And so, but you know, as luck will have it, God will have it, I got a job in the financial industry. And that's how I just kind of worked in financial industry, worked in investment, portfolio management. And that was going to be my focus until I heard how people were making money in IT. And, you know, my restlessness came again. And I'm like, this is the kind of money people are making? Okay, IT is it. So I moved from investments to IT, to tech. And I did a course. And I started working as a business analyst, I think sometime about 12 years ago, not long after I actually finished university. Because the great thing about Canada is you could work while you're in university. So while I was in university, I was already working. And so I'd already had some work experience. So by 2009 or so, I practically started working towards my job in IT, and by then I started working in tech.
The course you did was like a first degree, or just like a short course?
So it was a short course. It was like a business school course.
Right.
Because by then there weren't many short courses in universities that were offering project management. Right. It wasn't as big as it is now.
As it is now, yeah.
So I had to go pay for a business school course, which was quite expensive. But I looked at the ROI. I said, you know what, it's worth it if I pay this amount of dollars to learn this, and I make a certain number. Back then, I think my first job in tech, I was making $50 an hour. To me, that was a lot of money. So I moved into tech, and I was working in tech for a good number of years. And my last 9-to-5 job in tech was with the City of Toronto. I was working as a business transformation consultant with the city, working in the government. That's a prestigious job. That's a great job. Work-life balance. I loved my team. It was amazing. But restlessness came knocking.
That key word, yeah.
And this time it was to fill a vacuum that I was feeling in my life, that I wanted something more. I felt like being in tech came to me maybe not relatively too easy, but it was something that I could do. Basically, I enjoyed being an analyst. I'm very analytical naturally. I'm very observant. So I would be able to bring value easily to my team, but I felt like I needed more challenge.
More challenges, yeah.
And I think what had planted the seed was in Canada would come together a lot of times to do something called a potluck.
Yes.
Where you would bring food and everything, or people just bring drinks. And I would always bring Nigerian food because I'm the kind of person that's so proud to be Nigerian.
Yeah.
So I would either share Nigerian music, make albums for my coworkers that had Nigerian music in it, make CDs, back then, or bring food. And there was always that question, how can I get this? How can I make this at home? And you know how Nigerian food is. It's very complex. It's layers of fry this, boil that. It's not as easy to explain as, as some other meals. So I would tell them, don't worry, the next time I bring lunch, I'll bring some for you. So because a lot of times as well, the African stores or African restaurants were located in areas that were really low income areas where some of my coworkers wouldn't even visit.
But why was that though?
Because a lot of times the rent there is cheaper for African stores to open or restaurants to open in. And as well, that's the density of where new immigrants can afford to live. So you go where your customers are.
True.
Right? True. So that's why. But, you won't find... It's now maybe a few restaurants in downtown Toronto and all that are coming up because people are now opening restaurants with an idea of the kind of clientele you want. They're not opening the restaurants by us for us. They're opening it by us for all. They want Caucasians, they want Indians, they want everybody there, right? So you're now trying to invest more so that you can actually make more, right? So I think that had planted the seed in me that there was a gap, but the push to actually start being an entrepreneur wasn't because I wanted to start a food business. It was just because I wanted to start a business. But when you're starting a business, you have to look at the industry, look at the market, and look for a gap.
Yeah.
And the gap for me came as food, right? There were other gaps, but the gap for food was the one that really triggered me and made me excited. And so that's how I started. And I always reference this to God. I'm the one that said, we're not talking about religion, but hey.
No, I mean, we can't take that out now.
Yeah, I reference it to God it's an answered prayer out of action. Some people wait for an answered prayer, but they take no action.
Yeah.
I had taken action. I'd prayed about it. I had written it down. And I'd said, God, I want something. I want to create something, and I want to do something that everyone around the world will want to buy.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, right? So when that idea came, it came like a flood. The name, the It's Super brand name, the logo, everything came to me like just a whoosh. And I remember that day going to my computer, searching for the URL, and I'm like, how is this not taking? It's Super sounds so simple.
Yeah.
And that's one of the simplicity of the brand name is one of the things that people say, oh, wow, I love the name. It's Super, because it takes from the fact of being super amazing, but it's also super the coining of the name and all that. So, and I still reference that to just, sometimes when you're in the lowest time of your life or something, you're going through stuff. Those are the times when the greatest ideas or things come, right? So don't question those times of struggle, because a lot of times it leads to even things that you never thought that you could do.
Amazing. My next question so now you started It's Super, now you started a business. Was it Super targeted to Africans? My other question was, at the wave started then, did you think that, okay, you know what, as this brand is growing and there are more Nigerians, Africans coming up to Canada, I'm going to sell to them? Or your thought process when you started It's Super was, I want to try and introduce a new kind of sauce, a new kind of soup to non-Africans, the Europeans, the Canadians? What was your thinking? Who did you? I mean, the first draft, who was going to be your target market here, your target customer?
So, even though it's an African, made brand African, so authentic, my main customer is not African, and I have African customers, but I don't focus on Africans being my main customer, because we as Africans as well sometimes have the culture or mindset that shebi is at is it not tomato and pepper that you want to sell for $10? So, and I don't blame them, because sometimes they're coming to that foreign country, and to them, their tardini is not exotic.
It's not,
right? So the Africans that buy from me, they buy for convenience.
Instead of going to the stress of...
Yeah, they buy from me for the convenience and the nostalgia of home. The other Africans that buy from me are those who, aside from convenience, maybe they were raised in Canada, they don't really know how to make it the way mom makes it. Yeah. But the main customer for me are the Caucasians, the the Caribbeans, and like other Canadians, wow. right? They're my biggest base of customer. And the main reason is because to them, this is new, this is exotic, this is novel, refreshing, yes. This is something I haven't tried before. And that's why I say I make my products, it's by us, but it's for all. It's for everyone. And I still maintain the authenticity of being African. Yeah. For my packaging, for my design, like when I was coming up with the concept of the design of my product, I wanted it to show that vibrancy of Africa. Like, people look at Africa as like this dirty, hot. We live in huts and we don't have electricity. We don't have anything. Underdeveloped and all that. They see it as muddy and dark. Yeah. But they forget, look at us, like vibrant, like, in our Ankara and everything. So I wanted that to be the sexy, hot, like vibrant impression of what Africa, and that's what Africa is to me. And so that's what I wanted story to tell, even for my packaging. And so you notice from our packaging that it's colorful, it's vibrant. And so that's the storytelling, even from, when you hold the product to when you taste it, reminds you of home. So that's the nostalgia coming in. And for somebody who has never been to Africa, it's like, wow.
Is this how your food
It's you're opening new palettes or new areas of your tongue,
that you never knew existed.
And when that spice hits you, like, woo.
Okay, so do you enjoy? Would you say you enjoy first movers advantage? Because it's super is the first of its kind. Would you say you are enjoying first movers advantage when it comes to your kind of sauce, your kind of sauce spices in Canada, or there's the thing where your brand is looped together with the other well-established brands, the cayenne peppers, the jalapenos and all of that, or there is a bit of a not separation now. There's a bit of distinction with what you sell.
Okay. That's a great question, and there are many layers to that. So, first movers advantage, yes, in that it's something new, and when I say, I'm the first African sauce on the shelf or whatever, yes. First African soups on the shelf, I can lay claim to that. But with that comes so much responsibility.
True, very true.
I have to educate people what an African soup is. I have to, in that process of being one of the first to do something, you don't necessarily always be the one who benefits from the work that you do.
You're pretty much laying the foundation.
Exactly. So one of the things I've realized is it's too much pressure on myself to be the one to be a founding mother of a whole new industry. Because I don't have the dollars to do that.
Do you see yourself like that way?
So, I would see myself as one of the people that if they're pointing out African brands that are recognized, I would be in Canada. I would be probably one of the first people that people would mention. In the US, I would be one of, at least within the top 20 for sure. Right. There are more brands in the US, more African brands.
Of course.
So, but I would definitely I can confidently say that I would.
How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel wonderful. It makes me feel like I am playing a role. But like I said, that piece of being in a Canadian environment where you're trying to educate people on what African food is and what's, West African pepper sauce is, there's, a lot of education that comes into that you have to tell them on how they can use it, And so I spend a lot of more time as well trying to do videos of recipes and showing people what they can use it for. Yeah. Unlike even some other brands that are like Asian brands, chili oil. If I launch a chili oil brand, I don't necessarily have to educate people as much because Canadians are used to Asian food.
Yes.
So there's already been foundational people decades ago who have done that, and they have created a base for Asian food in Canada that you don't have to educate as much. So what I'm learning as I've started my brand is being more descriptive in my packaging, being more clear, even the name of the brand, being more descriptive in naming the product so that you can actually tell people, okay, use this on meat, use this on this, like educate them on the packaging so you don't have to necessarily spend as much educating afterwards. Another thing is just diversifying my product line as well, right? So that way I'm able to leverage on things that are easy to
use, yes.
Right? So when I started my line, it was going to be soups, sauces, and then eventually spices because that's kind of because I use a lot of African spices in my product, and also there's a gap. Any industry where it comes to food, any category of food, African food is missing, right? So there's no category of food that I can't inject myself when it comes to presence of African food. But for that, it's super kind of like, I'll say trifecta or whatever. It was going to be soup, sauces, and spices.
And spices, yes.
So now part of why I'm in Nigeria is trying to actually move faster when it comes to, doing R&D and research for my spices because I bring them from here. I just want to make sure that, I'm having a steady, part of the problem with Nigeria is having that steady balance supply. Exactly. So that's part of why I'm here to kind of ensure that I can do that steadily, not just for my products, because the spices are ingredient for my other products, but also as a spice or as a product on its own as well.
So I was going to ask when you talked about the current product range that It's Super has. How many product ranges do you have in each of the categories of sauce?
So currently, for the soups, I have 3. For the sauces, I have 3.
Okay, can you tell me which?
So for the soups, we have a Moroccan chicken soup.
Right.
We have a paprika soup, which has carrots in as well. So it's carrots and paprika, and that's a vegan soup because I launched that because I wanted to have a soup that would be spicy, but also
vegetarians and vegans can enjoy
because the average African is nothing close to being vegetarian or vegan. So I wanted to be able to, because when I first started, I didn't have any vegan products. So, and there was a lot of like questions like, oh, when are you going to launch something vegan? So I launched that, a simple base soup, and then I have a chili soup. Chili is basically beans, ewa. Yes. So it's a bean soup. So it has beans and traditionally the way we eat beans is that we put crayfish and fish products. But this in as a Canadian now and calling it an Afrofusion line, I made it have meat products instead because that's what Canadians are more comfortable with. Initially, I'd launched a fish pepper soup, and so that was one of my other products. So I did have 4 soups initially, but I discontinued that because I realized that my main customer, right, was weirded out by fish in broth. It's like fish swimming in water. So my main customer for the fish pepper soup was African and Asians and Caribbeans. Caribbeans also have something called a fish tea. So to them, it was like, oh, this tastes and reminds me of home. But like I said, they're not my main customer. So if I was going to scale up and expand with that product was not doing well enough for me to continue. So I will still eventually launch a pepper soup product, but it will be chicken or meat, something that my main customer is more comfortable with. And they're used to fish being dry, being on a grill or being battered, not in the water, because it reminds them of it being in its natural habitat.
Alive. Yes. Okay. So I'm sorry to interrupt, Rolade, but just this question that. As an immigrant coming in who is still would you say you are comfortable with you've ingrained yourself in the Canadian culture or you've learned everything there is to learn? I mean, you are.
Oh no, I haven't.
You haven't scratched the surface.
No, because I haven't even. I mean, I know a lot about Canadian culture, but then Canadian culture. Sometimes you ask yourself, what is Canadian culture? Is it the native Aboriginal Indians? Is it like the...
Yeah, because now you have people from different cultures coming in, and it's now like a potpourri of...
That's exactly it. Of people of different cultures.
From different
exactly.
cultures. Because why I asked is... So what is the place of, because you just talked about that you have to pull a brand from the market because the response was low.
Yes.
So what happens when you see a certain demand for a new kind of product?
Yes.
Do you pay, so what would be your thought process? Would you pay more attention to that?
That's a very good question.
Yes.
So after when I discontinued that product, there's another product that I actually discontinued that had great reviews, the peanut soup.
So what happened to that?
Because it's hard to expand with peanuts in soup, because in Canada, most times peanuts is only used for like granola or bars or as a snack. It's used for snack products or desserts, not used in soup. So granite soup, I had to discontinue because I couldn't scale with that, because I couldn't find anybody that would help me manufacture peanut.
Right.
Because of the allergen. That peanuts, the allergen issue. So that is a product people still ask for me today. People ask about the fish pepper soup, but that chicken, oh my God, I get comments every other time. When are you bringing it back? And so I do want to bring that product back, but I don't know how yet.
How yet, yes.
So that's the peanut soup. So that's an example of something that you have to pull out, not because of the market wants it, but because of the restrictions that you have due to the environment.
Okay.
And then so based on like realizing, okay, now I have my soups. I had one sauce, and then I launched 2 other sauces. So now I have the atadinde sauce, which I call the West African pepper sauce. Then I have the ayimashe sauce, which I call the green pepper sauce.
Right.
And then I have the peri-peri sauce, which is like, peri-peri. And they're, doing amazing so far. We just launched the other sauces this year. So one of the reasons why I'm starting to also move on to also having the spices is because I want, they always say Caucasians don't know how to flavor their chicken and flavor their food and all that. So I want to introduce them to more flavorful spices, and as well, even just the base spices, like a cayenne. One of the times when I was starting my soups, I was talking to a food developer, and he was telling me, I was trying to source with cayenne as one of the spices that I was going to use. And the complications of bringing it from here, I was like, oh, maybe I should just use this cayenne that is there. And he was like, no, Lola, don't even try it, because that cayenne that you gave me is it's one of your key unique factors of your brand. And so the flavor, the aroma of that cayenne is unique. And so don't change it. So that also lets me know that, the cayenne that comes from here is different, and more people should try it. Yeah.
How do you do your soups? Are they dry, or they
no? So they're fresh.
So how do you deal in terms of storage?
Yes. Good question. There's some things that you realize after you start. You're like, hey God,
as in who send me
message? Hey God, because freezer products is a lot of stress. But
it's not because there's no light, or there's light.
No, there's light, 24/7. But the issue is because it's not as easy as like a product that I can just
pick on the shelf,
or I can, even for storage for me, I can just rent a U-Haul and just forget it in there, or put it in my garage.
Right.
For fresh frozen products, you have to actually rent a space that is controlled, and that costs money. When you're delivering, you can't just use any transport. You have to use transport that is refrigerated or frozen trucks. So that adds more expense to it. And as a small brand, I'm competing with big brands that have all this already, covered. They even have their own trucks. But you want to price yourself in a reasonable amount that, customers are not going to look like, okay, I know it's nice, but right now I only have $20 in my pocket. I can't spend it on its soup. I just buy Campbell's, right? So you're trying to balance that cost of expense as a small brand to trying to be competitive, and it's a huge struggle for me. So one of the things that I realized to do is that you always have to have something in your brand that is attractive, but may not necessarily be the main money maker.
The main money maker, yeah. It's just to reel people in.
Exactly. So you have to be able to have products within your brand, diversify your product line, so that way you can have a balance, and you can also have a balance when it comes to seasons, because the Canadian environment is very seasonal. We have the winter, and in the summertime, soups don't sell as much because people are outside.
People are outside, yeah.
And people are having salads. They want to watch their weight. They're just like not eating hot food. It's not like our culture where we think of soup as a meal. They think of soup as something to keep themselves warm. So, and realizing that made me think, okay, I have to have other products that are not determined by the weather. Right. So people use sauces all the time. People use spices all the time, whether it's hot or cold outside. And even more in the summertime, people use sauces because they want to grill. They want to do other things. So that balances the downtime of my other products. And, you know, so yeah, so that's why you want to diversify your portfolio so that when one is down, you have something else, you know, keeping the team up.
Yeah, the other day we're talking about the gentleman who bought, I think he bought your spices and he said he used it to marinate his chicken.
Yes, atadindi.
Yes.
I was like, atadindi to marinate chicken.
Even when I heard it, I was like,
yeah.
So my question is, sometimes do the clients so when you hear things like that where they find other uses for your products, does that give you a light bulb moment where you tell yourself, okay, why don't I develop this way? Where you remember when you talked about sometimes you have to tell people how to use your products, like you have to give like a manual, you have to do YouTube and all of that. So excuse me, the question I'm asking is, so your products now, for instance, do you like, will there be an evolution in terms of, okay, no, scratch that. That's not the direction I'm taking it. Instead of teaching them how to use it, why not? Do you see a situation where you push it to them and say, you know what, this is this, figure out how to use it?
I think no matter how much education you do, there are still customers that will buy it and just wing it.
Exactly.
Right. So some of them will share with me that they used it to they added it into a dip that they use for chips. Into like a dip that had hummus. They use it to flavor their hummus. I don't eat hummus as an African. Well, Africans eat hummus, but not my part of Africa. Part, yeah. So hummus is not a dip that I would buy necessarily, right? But so I wouldn't think of it immediately, but it made sense because atadini is flavorful, and if you want to spice, it's savory, and if you want to spice your hummus and give it a little bit of like that oil or whatever in it and the spice, it makes sense, right? So there are things that people will come up with because they have tried the product and they think, I think it will work well with this. There could be more uses for that, yes. Exactly. Yes. For example, there was a day I had some leftover noodle soup that I got from an Asian restaurant. And I wanted to, just give it more flavor. And I was like, what can I put into it? I don't want to just put, atagungo or just pepper in it. Yeah. So I was like, let me put some of the ayimashe in it. Because my ayimashe that I make, the oil base is vegetable. It was not palm oil.
Okay.
So because obviously sourcing palm oil, and it was there's just a lot of negative. That's a whole nother story. A lot of negative press about palm oil. So I didn't want that to, dirty or soil the product itself. Which obviously that issue is something that annoys me, the whole palm oil thing. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I put the green pepper sauce in
the noodle soup.
Oh my God. The flavor was amazing. And I only did that just because I had leftover noodles that I bought. It's not like I make noodles myself. I'm not Asian. But that's something that Asians can do if they have it, because it's a pepper sauce at the end of the day, right? So I think, when you're in a certain situation and you're looking in your fridge and you're looking for something to make and you're hungry, you can just experiment. And think that's one of the things that I try to let my customers know, that you can use this. It's so versatile. Our sauces are very versatile. Like I said, no Nigerian would really use atadini for grilling.
Exactly.
But when that guy told me, it was like, oh wow, it was fantastic, I use it for grill. I was like, wait, are you talking about the peri-peri? He said no, the atadini. I was like, oh, interesting.
I mean, I feel that because this is something we are used to all our lives. Like we have seen it in a certain manner.
Yes.
It has to take people that are not used to it to make us see it in a different way. So amazing. So let's talk about It's Super. How have you been able to pivot to increase capacity, how easy or otherwise is it? Have you ever taken a loan for your business? How easy or otherwise is it to get? I mean, here for Nigeria, especially SMEs in Nigeria, the banks make you jump so many hoops. And it's a lot of people. You find a lot of people bootstrap. A lot of people have to get loans from friends and family.
Yes.
A lot of people take a lot of stringent loans that end up killing their businesses. So, how easy or otherwise is it to access financings for your business over there in Canada?
It's very difficult, and the thing with Canada or abroad is there are opportunities to get the loans, but because when you're a first generation immigrant like myself, you're still building your credit. So I've gotten to a point by the time I started my business, I already, had investments, houses, like I already had investment. I had a great job and all that. So my story is a little different than most first generation immigrants there. Because by the time I had my idea for a business, I'd already, gotten to a certain point in age and in career and all that. But a lot of Black, women, immigrants, there are so many things that are set up against me to be able to, advance when it comes to getting loans or even getting credit and all that. So a lot of times when I started, I focused on getting grants. And I tell people a lot of times that the reasons why you're marginalized or the reasons why you're at a disadvantage is why people also want to help you.
Yeah.
So the fact that I'm a woman, there are a lot of organizations that are set up to help women in business. The fact that I'm Black, there are a lot of organizations set up to being, of a certain race. And then the fact that, I'm an immigrant, there are all those things that are disadvantages in general, but they're incubators, hubs and incubators and all that have been set up. And through those things, I was able to get some grants here and there. I was able to get grants from the government to hire employees, summer employees and interns. So that has helped me save money in certain areas that has helped me with the business. But a lot of times when I started the business, I actually had to use my money to run the business for a long time. And I've pretty much done that. I haven't actually gotten a actual business loan. I've gotten to that point where I need to do that, especially when I'm trying to expand. But right now I've just been running it from my own personal funds because I don't have the friends and family money. Because my friends and family money in Nigeria won't go far. With the FX rates and everything. So, and my parents are retired, so I'm not at the point where I can actually get that kind of influx of funds from friends and family. So it's really just been my husband and I just supporting. My husband is an entrepreneur as well, so he understands. But there's sometimes the food business is a little different because he's in tech. He's an entrepreneur in tech. 1 + 1 is equals to 2 generally. But food is like, this is your food business. When is the money going to come?
When are the numbers going
clear, to? And it's also food business when it comes to food product is also different because it's not as it's not as quick as a restaurant business. A restaurant business, there are ideas that I've had for my food brand that I can't go from concept to launching as quickly, as swiftly as if I had a restaurant. I can say, I want to test this new product. Tomorrow on the menu, we're adding it as a special. I can't do that with a food brand because there's a lot of things, labeling. There's so many things that, testing, all that I need to do before I can actually launch it to sell.
Do you have to go through the FDA hoop also?
Yeah, so FDA is for the US, but we have our own food safety organization as well.
Does it turn around fast to get
approval? So you don't actually have to go through. So there are two things. If you have your own manufacturing factory or a place, then yes, they'll have to come. They have to come check every other day, depending on the kind of every other week, I guess. I'm not sure how often they come. But I think if you have a meat product, I think the CFIA comes in every other day or whatever. So that's what you need to do. But for myself, because I have a manufacturer that produces for me now, they are the ones who take care of that. I don't
headaches.
need to deal with that.
Right.
But if you have your own facility, then you have to have that taken care of, and they come check, and so that you can be accredited as meeting the health standards. But I mean, you can start without. You have to just follow the regulations of the environment that you're in. So there are some places in Canada that you can cook from home and sell to the public. But in Ontario and a lot of cities, you can't do that. You can't cook from home and sell. You have to go to an environment that is approved, that is out of your home,
Right.
that you cook and sell. So, if somebody owns a restaurant, you're already in a place that is approved. But for me, I had to go to a food hub or like a shared kitchen. Right, so that I could actually make my product and sell. So that's already stepping out of my comfort zone to do that. And you have to book per hour, pay per hour, all that stuff.
Okay.
So there's like, but I mean, it's what I've also learned is start small. Like what I'm doing with my lines coming is, I'm not overly spending too much on design. I'm not because I think for me, when I first started, I was trying to make a really great impression. I didn't want to be like other African brands that were stuck in the African store.
Yes.
I wanted to be able to sit on a shelf with
and appeal to
anyone. So I spent a lot of time and effort, which was good. But I realized that, okay, now It's Super has a name for itself and is known for quality and known for good stuff. I don't need to spend too much on just making customized packaging and customize this and all that. I think the key thing is just making sure that the product sells well and I'm storytelling well. And so that's part of my focus and strategy for 2023 to actually do more storytelling, because people don't necessarily buy the product. They buy the person behind the product.
True, very true.
And so, like you now, you from head to toe is outspoken. You are speaking outspoken all day.
Yeah.
So I see you and I'm like, oh, where did you buy this? And you're selling your brand.
Yes.
So I can't wear soup on my body.
Yeah, of course.
But at least I can speak about it and be about it and be about food culture and be about food and culture, which is what It's Super's kind of mission is, to be able to make African food or just food culture more like interesting and more appealing to people. So that's part of my mandate. And so storytelling when it comes to that, not just shoving it super the brand down people's but the mission behind the brand is what I'm really trying to market more.
What's the plan for It's Super for the next 5 years?
Well, the plan for It's Super is to continue to grow, hopefully get into the U.S. market. That's one of my key focuses, because that's where I think there's a bigger market. For diverse foods and interest in diverse foods as well. And so that's the plan, to have more products, innovate even within my products as well, look for ways to, because the economy, the recession, all that is affecting a cost of goods. Things are so expensive. The products that we use to make our products, our end products, the ingredients, the meat, the oil, like vegetable oil or oil that we used to use as a base to fry on, even onions, everything is so expensive. And you can't put all that cost on your customer, because the customer too are going to mortgage, rent, everything is going up. So so it's a situation where I have to balance it all. So I'm trying to look for ways to ensure that I can, create a brand that is just as good, but, find ways to ensure that the quality remains the same, but the pricing is reasonable in a way whereby I can make money and the customers will buy it as well. So those are some of the things that I really need to work on. But just expanding the line, creating more sauces, creating spices, just expanding the line and creating more variety for our customers.
Do you see collaborations with African restaurants?
Yes, so there's actually an African restaurant that is interested in using, so food service is one of the things that I really want to focus on for the sauces as well, because our sauces are amazing and they're good dipping that people can use to even make products. So that's one of the things that I also want to do, is working with African restaurants as well. And I'm actually in the process of, figuring out my food service sizing for the sauces.
Should we look out for an It's Super restaurant?
Oh no. That is
in
not
the spirit
for me.
of your restlessness.
No, that would never happen. That would never happen. Never. And they say never say never. That one I am very sure of. I am very sure of that. I do not want to go into the restaurant business. I know that for sure. I can invest in it. Maybe be somebody who invests in something that I know, okay, but I would not be involved in the day-to-day of a restaurant business. Never. No, not for me. It's to the grind. Nah, I can't do it. It's too much sleepless nights. Nah.
That's
That I am very sure of.
Okay. So in closing, what would you say to that immigrant, African immigrant who has moved to not just Canada, moving to a new country where that has a mix of cultures, races, who I have a business, I have a job, but my calling is to pioneer products, to do something, but I'm scared. What would you say to that person who is starting something in a new country and just needs that encouragement? What would you say to that person?
I would say that just don't let the barriers stop you. An idea is only as good as its execution.
True.
So if you have an idea, start somewhere, write it down, make it, like, note it down, note your plan, note the vision that you have for yourself. And, one way or the other, because you've already put it down, you've already started taking action on it. You meet someone one day that says something about, like, for example, because I had started working on trying to figure out the import export.
Yeah.
Just on the radio, I don't really listen to Nigerian radio, but the driver had put the radio on. Somebody was talking about exporting from Nigeria, and I Googled the man's name. I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to reach out to this person. Wow. The universe sometimes will put things,
yes.
So I'm like randomly on a Nigerian radio station. There's somebody talking about, like, exporting and the kind of products that you can export and how to do it and all that. So I think it's just putting it down and then taking the action. Remember, I said It's Super came as an answer, an answered prayer to action that I had taken. Yeah. So I'd already started taking the action, doing my research, going to educate myself about the food industry, all that stuff. And I, in the process, found mentors, educated myself about how to launch a food brand, all those things. So you have to put the action in, like, take action and put work into it. But don't let those barriers, like, I've mentioned, if you have to get a second job, like I mentioned, I was at the point where I'd had some savings and my husband could support me. But you could be single, have one job, but get another job. If that's what it takes to follow your dreams, do what it takes to follow your dreams, right? And then, it will come together. It will come. There's so many successful people, successful Nigerians, successful Black people in Canada and North America. They're doing really, really well. So the struggles are there, the barriers are there, but Nigeria know they carry last.
No, they carry last.
Nigeria know they carry last. Like, I bet you, a lot of times when you go into an office and you see a Black person that is maybe mid-level executive or whatever, a lot of times they're Nigerians. So Nigerians are doing really well abroad. Yeah, shout out to Nigerians.
Shout out to us.
People try to give us a bad name, but man, we're doing well. We're doing well out there. The things that make us bad are also the things that make us great.
It's so amazing. like it's so amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to even comment on when you said the things that seem to be like a like when you say you're Black, you're a woman, yes, end up being what will give you that stepping stone to. So another question is the current wave of Japa. Do you think it has or it will help It's Super in the appeal to reaching the length and breadth of Canada?
I believe so. I believe that, and so that's why when sometimes people say, "Oh, somebody else is launching a sauce brand, an African brand, or somebody else is launching something that is also," I'm like, that's good, because the more people are in my category, then we actually have a category.
Yes, true.
Right?
True.
If you're the only one in that category, then you don't have a category.
Yes.
Right? So, so more people that are African from, coming to Canada, then obviously the more interest, the more that there's a request. There's more requests for, why do we have to go to the African store? Can you guys sell Gary? Can you guys sell this? Because now there's actually a need and a want for it. Can you guys sell, oh, I miss having Zobo. I miss having this. I miss having, so those are the kind of things that, and speaking of Zobo, I actually just remembered something that I was going to answer to one of your questions. I can't remember the question you asked, but you asked something about
the product
diversity product line.
Diversity and product line.
And I went in this summer, I had a festival that I collaborated with a chef, and we created a line of products. And that's one of the reasons why I say I would never open a restaurant, because we spent hours making this product. My husband even joined me. We slept at we left that kitchen like 2 a.m. doing the prep work. Prep work for kitchen work is a lot of work. So, and obviously Canada, labor is expensive. Yeah. So we spent so much time making the products. Anyway, it did really well at the festival. But do you know which one was the most exciting thing? The Zobo drink that I made.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't make so much of it, the time and effort it took to make the Zobo drink for the ROI that I got in comparison to the time and effort it took for the meals.
Yeah.
I'm like, man.
People
kept coming back for the beverage. I was like, okay, now spice beverage now. Should be not spice. I put cloves, I put ginger. Now spice beverage. So then you have to kind of like always be open-minded.
Open-minded, yes.
And like I said, there's always a category. Every category, the beverage category, the spice category, the sauce, the soup, the flour category, like everything, baking, every category needs an influx of African flair and African spice. Yeah. So there's no category that I feel like Africans can't have an impact.
Yeah. From studying communications to career in finance to It's Super. Thank you so much, Lolade, for
and tech.
Yes, tech. I forgot that tech. Wow, you've been around. You've been around. Wishing you all the best with It's Super.
Thank you.
I'm sure the next time in Nigeria, you will stop by the pod to give us some updates on how things are. Thank you so much, Lolade, for stopping by.
Thanks for having me. You're welcome. I'm proud to see everything that you're doing from the playful Shola.
Yeah, so don't tell them about that. Don't tell them about. We are serious here. We're serious.
Just seeing everything that you're achieving, and even the podcast. I think this is amazing. Telling storytelling and sharing other people's experiences and stories.
Yes.
Podcasts are there's a podcast called How I Built This that also similar to what you're doing. It brings entrepreneurs mainly in the food space and talks about like their achievements and how they did it. And when I listen to some of the hardships that those people have gone through, I'm like, okay, I'm not alone in this. People also go through similar things. So it's inspiring, it's encouraging, and I'm sure you've been inspired by a lot of people you've met as well.
Of course. I mean, a lot of people see the shine, but the grit and all of that, which is usually hidden, that is what I want to hear, and that's why this platform exists, to give people, to tell people that I did not wake up like this. It was a long arduous journey to get to where we are. How do we find It's Super for our listeners in Canada? Right?
So for our listeners in Canada, you can purchase online at www.itssuper.com. We're also in Sobeys stores in Ontario and Whole Foods stores in Ontario and other mom and pop stores. You can check our website for locations. And hopefully soon, by next year, that's one of my goals, to get into Western Canada, which is the other parts of Canada. And then as well the US. So your
social media platforms for It's Super.
So it's itssuper.com. It's Super is ITSSOUPER. So it's just at It's Super. All my platforms are. Website is itssuper.com, and all the other platforms are just It's Super.
Right. So yes. We've had Lolade Adeyemi on the pod. Find us on Instagram and Twitter at Coffee Beans Pod. COFFEEBEANSPOD. Send us an email, coffeebeanspod@gmail.com. I have a day job, and so follow us. Find us at Outspoken Clothiers. Till the next episode, till next time you hear from me and I hear from you, drink coffee, stay inspired.